My phone gave out on me. So I got a new phone, and here I go again. I just wanted to express that I saw a footage of a young man, 20-year-old man, on top of a building with some law enforcement around him. He's got blood running from his head. He's obviously dead. He's been shot. And it brought sadness to me. This young man's name was Thomas Matthew Crooks, and he obviously uh, shot President Trump and shot into the crowd and killed two other people, or at least one other person, and injured others. And law enforcement shot him. And I had to contemplate what in the world would a 20-year-old young man who in his history is, he's intelligent in the sense that he got awards for math and science, and he graduated, and he's got a family, lives on in a suburb, and I'm sure his parents are very sad about this, the loss of their son, and the whole situation is sad. Now, I do believe that the police were justified in shooting him. There's nothing there that can be disputed, I don't believe. But who would want President Trump dead? That's what I want to talk about. And then I want to predict something at the end of this video. Who would want President Trump dead? And obviously the elite that have been controlling this country for the last 60 years hate Trump. And because he threatens them. He threatens their agenda. He threatens their privilege they've had above all, most people in this world. He threatens their ambition, and he threatens their power. Primarily their power to control the American people and to basically allow them to do whatever they want and continue to just suck the freedoms and liberties and the wealth out of the American people and, frankly, the world. And Trump threatens that. Whether you like it or not, whether you like Trump or not, he threatens that. Now, again, what would create such motive in a young man to take a rifle, to climb onto a building, to shoot into a crowd, to try to kill a former president of the United States and a candidate for president of the United States? And I believe that was driven by the same people, the elitists, who hate President Trump. Now, before you go off and say, well, there's no proof or evidence, there's no yet that someone put him up to it or paid him, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this connection that is that we are seeing and will see more in just regular people being radicalized against those who want to stand for something in this country, good or bad. Now, let me make this connection. We have the elitists, if you will, the political elite, the 1%. You could even go as far as the deep state if you want. But we know that there is a small group of people that control the media, the corporate media. And they control basically the narratives. They control because they own them. They own the media, and so therefore they control the media. And there's not some big conspiracy there. They just own, the mainstream, the top 10 media outlets, who basically own all the small media outlets through all the United States and many parts of the world are controlled by, just a handful of people. And so they determine what messages and narratives are put out there. And the message that the corporate media have been put out there and have been told to put out there is that, and that they want the American people and the people across the world to believe, is that Donald Trump is a rising to power Hitler. And that if he is not stopped, that he will do basically what Hitler did. And that is the undertone. Now, they may not say it like that. There's all kinds of things like he's a threat to democracy and that we have to save democracy and that President Trump is a hater. And there's all kinds of ways that they spin this. But ultimately, what it boils down to is that he is a rising to power Hitler type. And that if he is not stopped, that he will end up doing what Hitler did. Which, there are many, many errors in this narrative, but it doesn't matter because the narrative that is set out through the corporate media, the mainstream media, is not set out for truth. It is a lie that's set out to try to radicalize people like Thomas Matthew Crooks, who will do their, whatever they need them to do. And, you think about it, well, boy, we don't want another Hitler. We don't want another Hitler, so, we've got to stop this. And somehow a young man, who has his entire life in front of him, who actually seems to have parents that care, who lives in a neighborhood that is not a bad neighborhood, went to high school, got good grades, got awards, all of these things, graduated. He obviously has been susceptible to this message because no one wants another Hitler, right? So we've got to stop Trump. We've got to stop Hitler, the new reincarnated Hitler. And it's just a terrible thing that the media has done. And this is not done unintentional. Now, are there those in media that believe that actually believe it, that have been manipulated and coerced, or not maybe coerced, but manipulated into believing that? Yes, absolutely. But this has come from the top. This is being pushed, and they're being paid to push this message. And they're radicalizing a certain group of people in this country in order to basically end the threat that is posed upon this 1%. So, and we look at what they have tried to do to stop Donald Trump. They tried to, in an election, stop him. They weren't able to. Hillary lost, and he became the president of the United States. I believe they tried to stop him. I believe there's enough evidence out there. I believe, you could not believe it or not, but I believe that they tried to stop him through election fraud. They did a pretty good job at it, stopping him for a little while, but then he run for office again. And we have seen over the last, 18 to 2 years, they have now tried to stop him through court coercion, lawsuits, prosecutions, trying to get the court to, stop him from being able to run. And we see now that they're trying to stop him through assassinations. And again, it's not through this direct, that we know of, that, I'm going to pay a young man, or I'm going to somehow, coerce or manipulate a young man directly, but they're doing it indirectly through the media. And they've been doing this for quite a while. And unfortunately, a young man lost his life, and another individual, or maybe two individuals, lost their lives. Donald Trump was shot, and although he's okay, and it's just a terrible, sad situation all around. And I believe that it is very clear that the reason why this happened was because of the extreme messaging that is being pushed through the corporate mainstream media that is controlled by the very same people who hate President Trump because he threatens their power. And I believe, will see this continue to escalate to the point where maybe President Trump will lose his life. Maybe he won't. I hope he does not. I believe that President Trump can do a lot of good for this country. I don't agree with all his narratives, all his beliefs. I am not a nationalist in any way. I believe that country is built by the strength of each individual and by protecting the individual's rights, and that without the individual and their rights, there's no need or purpose for a country. There's no need for law enforcement. There's no need for, states or counties or anything. None of that is needed if it's not to protect or to uphold individual rights. So a nation or a country can never, ever become more important than an individual and their rights that were given to them by God. That's what I believe. And I'm not certain that President Trump believes that 100%. I believe that he understands that and that is important to him. But that's kind of beside the point. Here we have an individual who is running for election, who actually is, economically and in other ways has already done this country a great service. And we see that he challenges the power and control of the elitists, the 1%. And they are willing to use the media that they control and own to radicalize individuals like this Thomas Matthew Crooks, who's a 20-year-old young man who's susceptible to a message that is that obviously it's not correct. Trump does not have the same mentality, the same motive, same beliefs as someone like Adolf Hitler, and he is not a hater, for them to spew this message, and he is not a threat to democracy or to our republic. In fact, he is probably someone who will bring greater strength to a republic and to what they call a democracy, because he challenges those who have basically controlled this country and taken the power away from the people. And so, like it or not, that's how I see it. And I see this great, narrative that the mainstream corporate media is pushing, and it is radicalizing individuals enough that they'll get on a building with a rifle and shoot at a presidential candidate right into the crowd, killing people and trying to assassinate that person. And it's sad. It's sad to me. It's got to be sad to our Heavenly Father. It should be sad to everybody. And no one should celebrate that this young man lost his life, even though it was justified. And I hope that the focus goes on those families who innocently lost family members. And I wish there was some way that we could, end this terrible acts of violence and so forth that are coming into this country that I see that are just going to continue. Now, I said I'd predict something at the end of this video. I've said it many, many times, both publicly and privately, but I've never done it on a video. And I don't know how people will think about it, but I am going to say it because I believe that this is what will happen in the sense of this election. I don't believe that President Trump nor President Biden will be the next president of the United States. And there's a lot of details to that, but I, for some reason, feel motivated to get that on record, that I do not believe that President Trump, Donald Trump, or President Biden will be our next president. Now, how that all lays out, I do not know. But that's my prediction, and I have a lot of reasons for believing that, and a lot of, intuition, if you will, in that thought, and I leave you with that. So thank you, and I hope you have a great Sunday.